From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
We're taking a closer look this morning at access to fertility treatment as a Montana congressman seeks to limit IVF. And in Billings, a fire up on the rims is knocked down. We'll have details on how winds affected that effort over the weekend. Plus, from the campaign trail, President Biden is working to assure Democrats after that debate last week drew ire from both sides of the aisle. Good morning and welcome to Montana This Morning on this first day of July. Happy Monday to you, Ed.
Happy Monday, Augusta.
Thanks for being here. I'm Augusta McDonnell. We're looking at it's not really a seasonal week for a 4th of July, which you would expect to be super hot and sunny.
That's what usually happens, but not so much this week. In fact, take a look and see. Yesterday, we really built in some of the warmer temperatures. Billings was pretty close to average. By the time we got into the evening, that's when the wind took over. 55-mile-per-hour wind gust yesterday afternoon, evening, about 7 o'clock. It really took off. Temperatures, but check the readings. Triple-digit temperatures yesterday. Sheridan at 101, you set a new record for the date. 104 yesterday in Graybull, and made the century mark also in Warland. So the heat was really on, and so was the wind by the time we started getting into the afternoon and evening, and those thunderstorms moved in. Today, we're going to back those temperatures all the way down to the 70s to around 80 degrees and bring in a chance of showers and thunderstorms. So we'll talk about what the rest of the week looks like, and including, as you mentioned, a cooler than average 4th of July and how to maybe plan for that coming up in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you for all of that, Ed. We'll talk to him in a few. And our topic this morning, we're looking closely at fertility. Fertility doctors across the nation are seeing a surge in demand for IVF. 1/3 of all couples will undergo that treatment. But in Montana, there's a lack of care, leaving Billings Clinic the only facility in the state to offer that. This treatment is coming under fire across the nation. Q2's Andrea Lutz has more on how far families will go to have a better chance at a bigger family.
Life is nothing short of busy. For Ty and Desiree Vincent.
We definitely have our hands full, but...
With 4 boys, the youngest just 1 month old.
Feeling pretty blessed.
The Vincents always dreamed of having a big family.
I'm so glad that we did it, and what if we wouldn't have done it? Then we wouldn't have all this chaos and commotion and love.
But to do it, they needed a little help. Desiree says after having Lane, now 10, they wanted more babies, but she was told her chances were slim.
Basically, I found out I had low eggs.
So they opted to try IVF. The only problem, care is scarce in Montana.
The Vincents knew if they were going to grow their family, they'd have to travel to do it, going all the way from Great Falls to Billings, some 200 miles away, to the only IVF clinic in the state. It meant that some days they were on the road for as much as 8 hours in order to get their miracle babies.
8-hour days, you go there, get there, have your appointment, grab lunch, and come back.
Billings Clinic is the only facility in Montana to offer IVF. So the Vincents estimate they made the 440-mile round-trip trek to Billings 5 times over the course of a year and a half. And they're far from alone.
I have patients that come all the way from, say, Coeur d'Alene, all the way from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We've got some South Dakota people. We've got a lot of North Dakota people, all over Montana, Havre, Kalispell.
When Billings Clinic opened its IVF center in 2010, doctors performed 52 cycles that year. That number increased to 500 in 2023, a surge of 1,000%.
I love taking care of pregnant people. I love delivering babies.
Dr. Stacy Cimento has been with Billings Clinic since 2004, helping families grow.
So I saw the need here in Montana.
The Vincents transferred 2 embryos, freezing 1, Rhett, now 4, and Colt, age 2.
They just have this bond that's awesome.
But fears around the future of in vitro fertilization are rising. IVF has become a political hot potato. This year, fetal personhood bills have been introduced in at least 14 states. Reproductive rights groups warn these proposals could restrict or ban IVF because of the legal implications for destroying an unused embryo.
From that perspective, I don't want the availability of IVF to ever go away.
IVF has been around for more than 40 years. It's not new science. It is the standard of care for patients struggling with infertility.
While Montana is not one of the states considering legislation at this point, families like the Vincents could be caught in the crosshairs.
IVF has made such a difference in our lives. I can't imagine it not for people that want to do it.
They feel fortunate to have access to IVF and continue to count their blessings as they welcomed little Drake naturally just 1 month ago.
We were lucky like that, I guess, so.
And no matter the distance or emotions that go along with IVF, they say they'd do it all again.
We couldn't ask for anything more.
It's worth it.
In Great Falls, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Andrea, thank you. One of the most vocal opponents of IVF nationwide is Montana Republican Congressman Matt Rosendale. Just last week, Rosendale proposed an amendment to a defense spending bill aimed at blocking any funds from being spent on IVF. This treatment has been in the crosshairs of some lawmakers ever since the Alabama Supreme Court ruled earlier this year that embryos can be considered children. Rosendale says he'll continue to propose amendments against the process, insisting the focus needs to be on the root of the problem, infertility, and he spoke with experts on what he says could be a solution.
They say that there are so many things that have caused infertility in both men and women, and they have a lot of things that they can do to assist them to bring their fertility levels back up so that many of them are able to conceive children without reverting to the IVF process.
The rest of Montana's congressional delegation, including Republicans Steve Daines and Ryan Zinke, say they support IVF treatment. And leading up to this summer's political conventions, we're focusing on a key voting issue every week. This week, we're focusing on democracy. Scripps News congressional correspondent Stephanie Liebergen explains why both parties say they're fighting to save it.
Both President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump have said saving democracy is a critical issue this election cycle.
Our democracy is really on the line. Listen to the things he said. They asked him what happens. Are you going to accept the loss? He said it depends. And then he said if he loses, there's going to be a bloodbath.
Joe Biden is a great threat to our democracy. He's a tremendous threat to our democracy. His incompetence is the number one reason. Also, he uses the Justice Department, the FBI, to go after his political opponent, happens to be me.
A Georgetown University poll from March found 81% of Americans think our democracy is under threat, but Republicans and Democrats disagree on why. About 2/3 of Trump supporters say President Biden and Democrats in Congress are threatening democracy.
We cannot have a country where you get to prosecute your political opponents instead of persuading voters.
But over 80% of respondents with a favorable view of President Biden said Trump and MAGA Republicans are the threat.
It shows the violence of Trump and reminds us that he'll use violence against anyone who stands in the way of his megalomania and greed.
So where do we go from here? Experts say it's important to hold people accountable for their actions. A steady stream of the truth can help break the hold disinformation has on some pockets of the country. If the public views their government as effective, confidence in democracy can grow. One thing most Americans seem to agree on, the future of American democracy is an important factor in deciding who to vote for in November. Stephanie Liebergen, Scripps News, Washington.
Stephanie, thank you. Back here in Billings, one person is injured and 2 more arrested after another shooting early Sunday morning. Officers were originally called to the 2200 block of Central Avenue for the report of an assault. When they got there, they determined it was actually a shooting. 2 suspects fled. Officers were able to catch up to them and put them in custody. The victim was transported to a hospital. We don't have updates on their condition. This case remains under investigation. We'll continue to follow what happened with that. And up at Malmstrom Air Force Base up in Great Falls, an airman is dead and 3 others injured in a car crash. 2 first responder airmen were also injured while responding to the crash, which happened on base. We do not know who the airman is, who died, and who the 5 others were that were taken to the hospital. Malmstrom says it's investigating what caused the crash. This is the first recorded passing of a Malmstrom airman since the death of Alton John, who died in 2023 from a Humvee rollover. Wind over the weekend was not helpful for the fire starts across the area, but before those gusts picked up, firefighters did make significant progress on a fire that broke out Saturday afternoon in the Billings Heights. It burned 250 acres at the brand new Skyway Drive. As our Isabel Sparts reports, this situation was tense for residents and firefighters alike.
It was in this area on Alkali Creek Road where a wildfire broke out Saturday afternoon. And while the fire is mostly now contained, experts are urging the importance of fire safety.
This was the scene yesterday witnessed by many Billings Heights residents.
We received an alert through an app called I Am Responding that told us there's a fire at this location. We've got resources coming in and we'll probably need some assistance. We looked at the wind and said, there's a good chance this could get bigger.
You probably saw all of the smoke as the fire started around 12:30 Saturday, billowing off of the rims. Firefighters say it was lucky they caught it when they did.
It started off Alkali Creek Road and it pushed towards the new Skyway Road. We stopped it before that, so that was good. We mapped it this morning at 250 acres.
But it was those high winds that also made the fire unpredictable, threatening nearby homes, pipelines, and power lines.
It was very wind driven at the time. We probably had 15 to 20 mile an hour winds pushing it. The fields out here are ponderosa pine and grass understory, which is looks green, but it's very dry. A lot of dead fuel on the ground.
But when fires break at this time of year, many come to the rescue to ensure no homes burned. So moving forward, officials will try to determine a cause.
We're still looking into that, but our priority right now is to make sure the forward progress and the fire stays inside the perimeter.
And now, stressing the importance of staying safe for the upcoming holiday.
The burn permit system is turned off through July 8th. That's because we've got dry conditions, high winds, limited resources. We have had a number of fires in the area, so we want our firefighters to focus on those fires and reduce the potential for new fires to start on accident.
Have fun, celebrate, you know, but be smart about it. Make sure you have a clear area if you're lighting fireworks off. If you're having campfires, make sure you have a tool and water to put them out and, you know, enjoy the time, but, you know, respect nature.
In Billings, Isabel Sparts, MTN News.